Hello YouTube and fellow resellers, my name is Kevin the Stoic Reseller. I'm back at you with another weekly news you may have missed about eBay, or reselling, or about my channel. If you're new here, I buy new and used clothing and I sell it on Poshmark and eBay. If you're into that kind of, stuff, like, subscribe, comment below. With my channel, you're going to get some thrifting with me, some what solds, full transparency of metrics and numbers, and you get all the news categories that you may have missed over the week. And if you don't want to figure it out, come to me and I tell you what exactly is going on. So if you live under a rock, yesterday, eBay came out with their Q4 earnings for 2023, and it was kind of a mixed bag of potpourri. It looked nice, it smelled nice, but is it really as good as it kind of looks? Also in this video, before we get into this, the second half is going to be my new eBay test. I'm going to try to debunk a few conspiracy theories. I kind of hinted at this in my last video. And the conspiracy theory is that eBay throttles our traffic, sales, and doesn't matter how much you list. So if you're into that and you want to hear what I'm doing to test that, stay until the back half of the video. But let's jump right in. So Q4 earnings, I'll link this article. It's by Yahoo Finance. Pretty solid in my opinion. If you're curious, eBay stock after this rose about 10%, and then today was up another 7%. Well, I mean, I guess it's kind of an odd thing because really it's probably up like 8% total. And for good measure, the earnings report was very strong. So what you guys have to do, I know most of who watch me are resellers, and I'm a reselling channel, but I also have dabbled in finance. I have zero formal training. I am not an expert in this, so take what I say with a grain of salt. I could be wrong. If I am, let me know down in the comment section. We can have a conversation about that. But reading this, listening to it, my gut feeling, I'm going to provide that to you. I'm going to tell you what my thought process, synopsis. I even have a few notes here on some sticky notes. And we'll get into it. So this part, you guys need to take your bias out of the equation, okay? eBay is, for context, eBay is a publicly traded company, meaning you can buy stock in eBay. You will even get a dividend, which is like a little over, I think it's like either just under 2% or just over 2%. It's not terrible. So you have to remember, with publicly traded companies, the number one goal is to drive shareholder revenue. So the way eBay has been doing that recently is been driving revenue through its promoted listings, or as they say in here, their advertising arm of eBay. That has been their main source of revenue, I would say honestly, for the last probably 6 to 8 quarters, so maybe the last 2 years. And they're still looking to grow this every quarter, obviously. So I strongly recommend you go watch their Q4 video, the call anyways. I'm going to briefly go through this, or kind of layman's terms it for everyone. So to start off, eBay had a pretty strong fourth quarter and actually had a really strong quarter 2023 overall. Each quarter they were above estimates and profitable every single quarter. The negatives, I will go, let's start with the negatives. The first negative was eBay lost about 2% of their buyers overall. Buyers, I think the way Yahoo said it here, it's like the buyers' performance, or the active buyers' momentum, weakened by 2%. So instead of being 132 million active buyers on eBay, there's now 131 million active buyers. And this is a continuation of a trend since the end of 2021, where they've been shedding or constricting buyers for literally since the first quarter of 2022. That is concerning in of itself. It kind of shows that eBay may have a different strategy in mind. I'm not quite sure. I don't know if this is intentional, but e-commerce as a whole has been somewhat up in the air. Walmart online and Amazon have definitely I don't know. I mean, they've definitely taken the bull by the horns, and they are growing. eBay, on the other hand, seems to be, at least from a perspective of a buyer standpoint, shrinking, and they have been shedding their market share to other platforms. I don't think you can ignore that. Um, in the call, Jamie, the CEO, did acknowledge that they were asked about like Timu and who was the other one? It was Timu and some other company Sheen. That these are just very cheap knockoff brand stuff. These two companies are being sued to oblivion, but they're making hundreds of millions of dollars, and it doesn't seem like they give a shit. Um, eBay mentioned that that's not their competition, and I agree. I don't think that's their competition, but their competition currently would be Amazon, Walmart, Poshmark, Mercari, Etsy, like any platform that you can cross list to and sell your product is a direct competitor to eBay, and they have been shedding their market share since 2021. I mean, really since the last quarter of 2022, really to be fair in my opinion. So that's the number one weakness. Let's see here. On my other note here, the other weakness was their GMV, which is right here. GMV, which is basically their gross like value of products on their website, overall grew. Remember, you guys have to understand, eBay is now global. They have markets in Germany and England, amongst other places like Europe and stuff like that. They have these markets, and those markets are actually larger than our market in the United States. So the other negative that I could see here was the domestic GMV dropped 0.03%, so essentially stayed flat. And to put our reseller cap back on, it feels way different. So I want to hit on that a little bit later. But overall, the platform grew by 2%, and the foreign grew by like 4% year over year. So to say that eBay isn't growing is to ignore the facts of the data, as long as the information they are providing to the shareholders is true and accurate. And here in the United States, we have laws and audits that require this information to be as detailed and accurate as possible. Other countries, you don't get that, namely China. So we have to assume that this is true and accurate to the best of their abilities. A lot of money is spent creating these statistics. So we'll look down through here. You can see here, it just kind of goes on and talks about the fact that eBay has been beating the Zacks estimates for the last 4 and year over year. Some of the key notes that I wrote down here was Jamie was asked about the GMV growth rate, and he said that it was to be expected, and due to some of the platform changes over the course of this past year, that it was expected to stay either stagnant or marginally grow. But they do expect to see growth this third and fourth quarter domestically and abroad, meaning that they are looking to probably increase this by, I would imagine, 5% year over year. So I expect eBay to actually be growing. And so it's up to us as resellers to stop thinking about the negative and start thinking about how we can position ourselves to take in that maybe the domestic grows 2 to 3%, even in a down economy. 2 to 3% is quite a bit when you think it's 18.6 billion total, and 8.9 billion is here in the U.S. What is 2 to 3% of that? That's a lot of fucking money, and you really need to start thinking as a business owner. How are you going to grab that piece of the pie? How are you going to grab that market share of money and stop talking about, hey, eBay's doing this, eBay's doing that. Start thinking about, well, eBay does suck. eBay's having their issues. I can't control that. What I can control is my effort and ability to grab the market share that eBay is stating they will see growth by quarter 3 or quarter 4. Revenue will grow over GMV rate. So that is something, if you don't understand what he's saying there, GMV rate may say grow 5%. They are expecting revenue to grow by, like, just for simplicity's sake, 6%, meaning that they're going to drive more revenue over this year than they did this year, and they're expecting it to outpace the GMV value of the company. So that to me signifies that they have some additional advertisement revenue ideas. Maybe one idea that I've heard go out there is they're going to raise the base minimum of promoted listing fees. I do know that somewhere in there they're adding additional promoted listing items in there. So we'll see what happens. I don't know. I do know one of the things that they mentioned was the pay-per-click model was one of their biggest marginal gains quarter over quarter. And I'm not quite sure how they factored that in. That's either all the free money, the free $100 they gave us over the course of a month for 30-day trial of that. Actually, no, that was offsite ads. So I mean, unless people are truly just maybe giving it a shot and then realizing either it's good for them or bad for them, it is hard to believe that, given the data that we have, that we've seen other YouTubers do, that pay-per-click model is actually a valuable tool to, say, a reseller like me who really just kind of sells one-off shorts, pants, whatever, and I don't have a whole lot of multi-quantity items. I really do feel that you get the best bang for your buck if you have like 10 of the same item and then you can pay-per-click based on a fucking detail. I can't do that unless I do like shorts. And then I imagine the pay-per-click on that's going to be very expensive. So let's see. Earnings grew each quarter and beat expectations. I already mentioned that. So that is, whether you like it or not, eBay is going to be here and probably still be profitable in the next 5 years. I need to find the article and I'll do a video on it. I remember seeing something last year, and I forget who the main contributors to the article was, but they were saying that the used good market, specifically in clothing and other necessities or perceived necessities, are going to grow something like 20 to 35% over the course of the next 5 years. So again, that's when you start thinking about business, you really need to start thinking, okay, how do I get my fair share of that? How do I beat my competition to get that share of the market? And it might take some creative thinking, creative ways of sourcing. There's all sorts of information out there. You just have to figure out what works best for you. Obviously some of the methods take a lot of money, and you have to have a very strong understanding of how to offload it and make a profit. Because when you're spending $1 million, say for like a really big name brand's return items, say you're dropping $1 million and you're looking to make 10% on that $1 million, you have to not be able to sit on that $1 million worth of inventory very long. You got to push that in like a month. So, but you're making $100,000. So, if your margin's 10%. But yeah, whether we like it or not, I know there was a lot of people hoping that the fourth quarter earnings would be devastating. And it's not. I mean, I think, as a YouTuber and a reseller, I think I lose sight sometimes that there are millions of sellers on eBay. And I would argue hundreds of thousands of them are independent business owners, and maybe even more. I mean, it's crazy how many people are on the platform. And it does strike an interesting conversation that, I may be I can't complain. I'm not struggling per se. I'm doing what I want to do, but there are people that have seen drastic changes in the way their business is operating on eBay. So you have to think, okay, well, that's one experience. There's a lot of experience. There's a lot of people on YouTube, comments, things like that have that same feeling and mentality. But for eBay to actually have grown revenue every single quarter shows that there's something else happening. So there are people who are having years better than ever. And we just have to come to terms with that. And we, as resellers and business owners and entrepreneurs, we need to understand and change and grow every single day until we're at that point where every single week, every day, every hour is better than the last, and we are having great success. And if we're not doing that and we're not striving to do that, we are failing as a business owner. That's plain and simple, guys. There's no ability to reason with that philosophy when you are not trying to be better than you were last time. And it doesn't. And you in the I think the fallacy of everything is people are so upset with eBay and the changes they've made to the platform and how they're not able to do the same volume that they were the years prior. But there's a lot of people that have realized that, hey, a part of reselling is finding different ways to sell your items. There's plenty of people that sell on Amazon. There's plenty of people that sell on eBay, Poshmark, Etsy, Mercari. There's so many opportunities out there right now. Not all of them are as good as the others, but at the end of the day, you have to find a way to offload your product. I mean, just for some things that come to my mind is like JL Stanton. He now is building a Facebook group to sell his items off eBay, and he's having great success. He's building that. It's taken a lot of work, a lot of sacrifice, but eBay isn't performing the way he needs it to be, so he found a different way to do it. The bearded picker. He's starting to move a lot of items into auction houses. That's an interesting way to do it. And to be honest with you, from what I hear, he's having good success doing that too, because he gets rid of the item quicker and faster. And maybe we're running into markets that right now it's not prudent to be holding on to inventory and waiting for the top dollar. We need to start accepting 20 to 30% off offers because the market, the economy, the greater economy isn't as strong as it was even 3-4 months ago. So, you got to start having the understanding, the basic grasp of reality, people, that things aren't as great as they are, and we cannot continue to operate in the past. We have to continue to operate moving forward. And how do we do that? We need to understand how to bridge the gap between now and the future. And, that's what makes successful business owners successful. They understand and have the foresight to understand that. Moving on. Buyers dropped as a whole, so from 132 to 131. However, I did hear Jamie say that was expected. They are expecting to kind of shed buyers still, but they think that it's stabilized now. So to be fair, we'll see what quarter one shows. They mentioned quarter one from an operation standpoint is their most profitable quarter of the year, but I'm curious to see where the buyers are, because if they continue to shed, that shows that the methods and targeting of what they're doing isn't working. And and as they continue to shed that market share, eBay becomes less and less and less viable as an option to sell or be a primary selling option. So yeah. Now in the call, they mentioned that the refurbished market and luxury markets such as shoes, purses, they now have a jewelry, are the markets they're still focusing on harboring and molding into something better. These are markets that they want to grow quarter over quarter over quarter over quarter. Also, that includes the eBay Motors. So they talked about the investment in authenticity guarantee, their investment in Japan, their investment in what was it? All the eBay Motors stuff. So like the promise to fit or the guarantee to fit thing. So those are the markets that they deem to be valuable to their overall arching future plan. You have to understand they're looking for there's this term that they used for the buyers, and it's slipping my mind. But these are buyers that spend about $3,000 on average on eBay, and that is about 16% of the total buyer base, and they want that to be more. Well, if you look at the current targeted markets that eBay is doing, those are the markets that would have these type of buyers. People who are buying car parts are typically either mechanics, do-it-themselfers, or maybe they're refurbishing an old car, things like that. You're going to spend a lot of money doing that, especially if you have the guarantee that it will fit your car. They have, Jamie was very proud of the 7 million vehicles they have in the, I think it's called eBay Garage. And basically, it just generates suggestions that of items your car can use, maintenance, things like that. It was kind of interesting. It's something that I've never sold on eBay Motors, and I have no idea any of that, and it's kind of cool. But eBay Motors grew 7% quarter over quarter. Oh, actually, he didn't say 7%. He said the high single digit percentages is what he said. So I just kind of took it in the middle at 7% would be my guess. But not terrible. So, and I believe you said the luxury market is growing, and or I don't know, that's their words. I just don't see it, me personally. But, anyways, moving on. I kind of talked about this. The GMV rate stayed flat and basically flat in domestically. So, I'm not really sure what that means. I don't know. That kind of means that eBay either, because it was dwindling. So the misconception, and I saw this on Primo Chemo's live today. They were talking about the GMV, and there were some people saying that eBay's losing GMV. It's down. It's down. It's down 0.03% domestically, which is essentially flat. I mean, can you imagine complaining about your store value and you're only down 0.03% in sales? I mean, you're basically doing the same thing, right? I mean, that's 3%, not even 3%. It's like 0.03. It's 0.03% change. So I don't know, guys. It's just, to me, that's an irrelevant point. And they expect GMV to grow in the third and fourth quarters, which to me tells me they had a comment about. Actually, that was the last bit of my notes. So let's talk about what I think is going to allow them to grow the GMV quarter over quarter. The first thing is they talked about their technology and their deep dive into AI and how it's starting to actually pay dividends. They're marketing this stuff, they're pushing it out to people, and it's having a good impact so far to them. They have some people saying it's great. I use their AI description tool. Okay, my thought is if they're gonna give us this AI thing and they're just talking it, I'm gonna use it because maybe I get a bump in some search algorithms. I don't know. I don't like it and I don't hate it either. It's just there. I do it. It actually helps me out a lot more on Poshmark than anywhere else because I cross list and that description carries over onto the cross listing platform. So, but that's neither here or there. And but the way I think they're gonna do it is. So their search algorithm is run based off an AI software or an algorithm or whatever you want to call it, because that's all AI is. It's just an enhanced algorithm that is capable of logging data, using that data, learning how to respond, and it's just a bunch of input outputs. And the algorithm it does learn. It's a learning algorithm, and over time it will get better. And so part of the conversation they were talking about was they're going to, in quarter one, they're doubling the GPU processing ability on the platform. And if you're unaware, that is significant because now, if we're really getting down to the nitty gritty of some of these theories where eBay's capping you or my search isn't showing up on the opposite coast, things like that. It may not even be something nefarious. Maybe it's just simply a processing capacity, and eBay's hit those capacities because we have to understand they were trying to get off of third-party support, and they wanted to be basically their own cloud and use their own server and databases, and so they've been through this 3-year plan to revamp their entire technology base. That obviously took a backseat when COVID hit, but anyways, maybe we're at the tail end of that, and they're still working out the kinks. There is a part of me that wants to believe that there isn't anything nefarious about eBay and what eBay has been doing to sellers. I think, as a reseller, I do sympathize with everybody because I took a huge hit. Starting in June, and I'll show you guys. I'll show you on my next video my metrics of something I thought about. I wanted to see how my views and everything were doing between January of last year and June of this year. I'm sorry, of January of 2023 and June of 2023, because I was promoting. And there's some interesting insight into that. And I think it's more than just a coincidence. Let's put it that way. But I do sympathize because like I said, I felt the pain just like anyone else, and but I still have this. I don't know. I'm overly positive on too many things, but I'd rather live my life with being overly positive than overly um, negative. To me, I'd rather be happy about it and try to find the positive than to be let down at all times. So for me, I want to say that eBay is not nefariously trying to affect your sales. I think the site is so large that they may have underestimated the computing power and the processing power it takes to do what they're wanting to do. And, that would coincide with the fact that they've shut servers down. I mean, I don't think anyone can really say they haven't done that. There's plenty of evidence out there that they do probably shut blocks of servers down to do upgrades and everything like that. It's just a rolling chain of upgrades and things like this, updates and installations, things like that. And maybe this last year was like, we want to get this done before Q1 of 24, and they didn't hit that goal. But there's this whole March thing. There's a lot of people talking about March. It's going to be a lot better. Maybe. Let's hope. We have to hope that this GPU thing is actually not making the site any suckier. I understand it's going to enhance the AI tools, and that's what it's designed for, because that would be the only thing I can think of that would use a GPU processing capacity, because everything else would just be a CPU processing capacity. So I don't know. I'm not a super expert in that. I do know a little bit about IT, but not in depth like that. But I'm gonna keep my fingers crossed, because they said that is supposed to be done before the end of Q1, and we'll see. We'll come back to that. So yeah, guys, I know this is gonna hit some people the wrong way with the eBay earnings, and I know everyone wanted this to be the end all be all. Jamie's getting fired. It's gonna be a new direction for eBay. But here's the deal, guys. They're profitable. And you have to take your, like I mentioned, you have to take your reseller hat when looking at numbers. When you're looking at stocks and earning calls and things like that, first off, you need to just you can go onto YouTube and listen to people talk about it all day long to get an understanding of what is actually going on here. And so that's the first step. You need to have a general understanding of what this information means. Or you can listen to crazy people like me on the internet with a beard that needs to be shaved and or at least groomed and brushed maybe. Or you can find professional people in suits who say they have some sort of degree and that they used to work for Donald Trump and they managed his $75 million, $100 billion and made him an additional 10x on his money, and that's why you should listen to him on eBay. Or you could just do it yourself and try to see the numbers for themselves. The fact of the matter is, to an investor, to a stockholder, they don't care deeply enough about the fact that there was a basically flat domestic GMV and basically a suppression of 2% of the overall buyer base. So all they want to see is my investment making money? It is. Great. How long has it been making money? Oh, it earned 4 straight quarters of above expected earnings. Fantastic. That's why people are investing in eBay right now. It's why the stock is up 7%. It is to be seen. I mean, the stock has been middling and very kind of going nowhere for a long while. Okay, and we can look at the chart here. I mean, you can see. Let's do the 6 month here. This gives you a good understanding. November of 23, right here, or I guess was at a low. I mean, dude, if you came in here, you're making money right now, and it was flat. It was like, yep, here's a dip, but it keeps coming up, and you got to figure, really the I don't know. I would say the average is somewhere right in here around 44.26. So you tell me, guys. It's an interesting thing to look at, and will this stay true? Because they always do their earnings typically like what the middle of the second month, so this would have been in November. I know in November they had not so good numbers, and that might explain some of this nonsense. But as you can see, it's rebounded. So I don't know, guys. It's to me, I think people, specifically investors, are going to look at eBay. I believe the cap on this is only about 3 to 5 more percent. I don't expect this to go above 50, but what do I know? But I also don't think it's going to go below, say, right here. I think it's going to be hovering between $45 and $48, at least until we get Q1 earnings, and then we'll go from there. Enough about the good old eBay. We will X out of that. I need to open up this just to get more light. I don't have a good light over here. Now to talk about what the overall goal of my store is moving forward now that my wife is working for me. So this week, we were just going to jump into it, and I was going to start sourcing more often. By that, I go north from me to go to a major metropolitan area and source a whole weekend and come back with about on average around 200 items. And then I usually would spread that over 3 weeks if I was working by myself. But now I'm working with my wife, or my wife's working with me, however you want to word that. So now we've decided that we need to ensure our financial security. We're going to eliminate a lot of our leverage, which is just our debt. She gets unemployment for a period of time. And so right now, we listed 12 items all last week. This week, we increased it 50% to 18 items. If you guys don't do math, what is 50% of 12? And add that on top of what I listed last week, which is 6 plus 12 is 18. I was talking to my coworker, and he didn't understand what I was saying there, so I just figured I'd draw it out for you guys too. And then we're doing that for 2 weeks, okay? So my goal is to debunk a few things. The first thing is that eBay caps your traffic, no matter how much you list, okay? So I'm running this for 2 weeks. We're going to be listing 18 items per day for 2 weeks unpromoted. And I mean, I would suppose, when in the greater scheme of things, 6 items is 33% of what I'd be listing, right? And it's, I'm adding 33% more items to eBay on a daily basis. So my thought is my impressions, page views should go up about, I'm hoping 25 to 30% more than what it was with an additional 6 items on top of what I was doing prior. The next goal is that sales increase to about 30% more in sales over the same course of time. Obviously, the goal is higher, right? But the minimum goal is 30% more sales once eBay, because you have to understand, guys, when you increase stuff on eBay, there's a shock factor. So eBay has to realize what you're doing, and then they have to realize that the algorithm has to make sure that you're capable of doing the workload that you're presenting. If you list 18 items in a day, you're not just going to get increased sales the next day. You might get 1 or 2, but it's not going to be where you should be. So I'm running that test for 2 weeks, because I'm not going to go sourcing this weekend, but next weekend and the weekend after I'm going up north. So we're going to start doing weekly, and then for 3 weeks, and then I go up for 3 weeks now, and that last 2 weeks I spread out the last items out, because since we're sacrificing so much of my time, I wanted to make sure that I made time for my family, and we're going to go out and do some cool stuff as a family on a weekend that I'm not sourcing. But to get back to this, after the 3rd week, so and this is going to be somewhat, I don't know if this is going to skew the numbers or if it isn't going to skew the numbers, but it is something I'm going to be trying. So after those 2 weeks, we'll review the increase of, if there is an increase, okay? And I'll give you a small little glimpse of traffic numbers. So we started doing this on Monday, And you can kind of see the graph is starting to go up, right? Page views starting to go up. Sales, starting to go up. So the I'm trying to debunk this because I personally, when you think of it, when you think of how this should work logically, there is no logical sense that eBay would suppress you and not sell your items if you're putting more items on eBay. Now, albeit my store is literally almost 50 or it's almost 100% larger than it was the same time last year. I only had about 400-ish items, 450 items last year at this time, and I'm at like almost 800. Let's look here. Yeah, 794. So, yeah. So then after these 2 weeks, one other thing I'm going to add into that just so you understand the transparency. I am also ending and selling similar an equal amount of items that I list every single day. So if I'm listing 20 items new, I'm also ending my oldest 20 and selling similar to those 20 items. And I'll be doing that every day. So I am possibly artificially increasing the impressions and page views, but the goal is that those items get refreshed into the algorithm and then I sell 1 to maybe 5. I don't know. As long as I can sell any of those old items and I can start shedding those old items, that's the goal, because some of those were learning mistakes. But then after these next 2 weeks, we're going to review the information to see if my traffic has increased by what I suspect it should, see if sales increased as I suspect it should. And the reason I'm doing it over 2 weeks and then doing a third or a second aspect of this plan is because I kind of want to eliminate any variables, or really I want to have like 14 days of this happening, right? And by that I mean we're at the end of this month, going into the beginning of next month, and then I want the beginning of the month information too, because those historically are my best times. So I would assume those would be also the best selling periods, at least for me. After those 2 weeks, I will be promoting. Yes, you heard it here. I have caved. I am now going to be a deplorable just like every single other person. But the goal here is we run businesses. We have costs. Regardless of how much I want to pay eBay, I'm going to have to pay them, right? With the increased amount of items being listed, I just had to upgrade my store level. And did I want to do that? No. I had to pay them more to get more free listings. Just necessary evil, guys. But with that said, 2% is what I'm going to be going at. I'm not going anything higher. You can't go lower. But at 2%, that's what I'm going to do. But here it is. Polish Pete set this out. It's going to be if the item's been on eBay for 30 days, it will have 0 promotions. None. Absolutely zilch. After 30 days of being on eBay, I will promote every item that's been on eBay for 31 days and longer at 2%. And we'll do that for a couple weeks. And we will see if that has any meaningful difference in sales, in page views. And it's going to have a difference in impression. I can guarantee you that. What I'm not convinced is that it's going to increase my page views. And the other interesting thing is we'll have to monitor this is it's going to skew these numbers here. Okay. But what I want to know is if it will actually improve these physical numbers, not the percentages, because the percentage of this is going to go through the roof, guys. And I'm talking, it's going to be over 80%. I can guarantee you 100%, a matter of fact, that non-search impressions during a promoted listings, even at the level I'm going to do, is going to shoot this number to 80%. But what I want to see is if these numbers, 124,072 and 361,585, are going to grow according to the promoted listings. So I will be documenting all this. We'll document the journey. My store is unique to this. I am in the process of adding more items to the store. I am in the process of not promoting at all. My store has been clean of promotions since the end of December. I'm going to start promoting again. So I want, unless someone else has run this experiment, I want to show if eBay is truly messing with us at the seller level, or is it all in our heads and it's just market conditions? Who knows? Maybe it's something in between. I don't want to say anyone's right or wrong. We're all speculating. That's all it is, guys. Is everything we're doing is speculation. But I want to try to debunk some of the speculation. Why? Because that's what the channel is for. I want obviously my store to function properly, even in a down market. Poshmark, for instance, has been amazing. It's been outperforming eBay every day except for today, which is bizarre to me. So that tells me it's really maybe not an eBay thing, or it's not my items anyways. It's because they sell somewhere else. So maybe it is an eBay thing. I don't know. We will find out. You will need to watch and find out. So guys, I'm gonna end it there. This is a pretty long one. If you have anything to add to the eBay quarterly earnings, am I right? Am I wrong? Am I just some idiot that doesn't know what the hell he's talking about? Make sure to let me know. Like, subscribe, comment below, share my video with all your friends and family who enjoy bearded people. And until the next time, guys, make sure you are still ruling the day.